Hi folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. Well, about the only fishing we have right now in our area is ice fishing. There's still a lot of open water on the St. Lawrence. And of course there's fish out there under that open water, but the biggest disadvantage right now is those fish aren't going to move in a lateral line. They're not going to follow your bait back to you. They don't want to move that way. They don't want to move much of it all. So I think the only way you could really be successful is if you were throwing some kind of live bait out and letting it sit there where you think those fish are going to be. Remember, they're not moving a lot right now. But there's so many different factors to ice fishing. One of the things that I think you have to remember is when the water gets this cold, which of course it's cold under the ice, the fish's movement is going to be up and down in the water column. They're not going to be moving around like they are when it's more warmer water times in open water. So you're either going to be fishing with tip-ups that allow you to have live bait staying down there in the same area that the fish can find and eventually maybe decide to hit, or you're going to be jigging something over a hole. And there's just so many things to talk about when you're jigging up and down. Now, I've talked to Jigger Jim, speaking of which, and he is an avid fisherman, period, whether it's winter or summer. And he told me that one of the most important things for you to remember when you're jigging, when you're fishing over a hole in the ice, is you don't want to let your bait go all the way to the bottom. Now, this is Jigger Jim's tip, okay? But I think there's a lot of relevance to this. What he feels is let's say you're fishing in 20 feet of water and your bait starts to go down. If you've got some kind of a screen, if you've got a Vexilar, if you've got a fish finder, and you'll be able to watch your lure go down. Usually by the time it moves maybe 7 or 8 feet, let's say you're fishing in 20 feet of water, those fish that are on the bottom see it and they start to come up. What you have to learn to do is to know when to stop it. Never let your lure go down and hit the fish or get down at them. You want to let them come up for it. They're going to come up and they're going to look at it. And your screen is going to tell you how far up they will come. A lot of times they'll start up when they see your lure coming down, but they won't go all the way up. They may only go up 5 feet, 8 feet, and then they'll turn around and go down. What you've got to learn or got to be able to do is to allow that lure, in this case it's going to be some kind of probably a metal jig, to get to a certain point that they're going to want to look at it, stay where they are, and eventually hit it. And, I asked Jim, I said, let me ask you something. Would you say in modern day ice fishing that watching the screen, watching the fish come up and do this is the most fun part of fishing? And I didn't really get an answer from him. I think part of that, because Jim has got older, like so many of us do, I think part of it is he misses the fundamental part of fishing that was what it was years ago. Now it's become so technical that it's a different sport. But there is a certain joy to that technical stuff, to being able to see your fish. In the past, you wouldn't know if the fish were there. Now you know before you start fishing whether there's fish down there. So there's an awful lot for us to cover as we go forward. I want to talk about, in another report, the type of jigging lure that you should use. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.